British Spy Stories, Season 1. Spy or Traitor. Episode 6. The flight is delayed at Zurich Airport, and Catherine becomes increasingly annoyed at the Heathrow holding pattern as she circles Docklands for the third time. She emerges from Terminal 2 and hails a taxi. It is 11 a.m. Catherine chooses a number from her phone. The line rings, then switches to voicemail. "Rich, I'm in London today, flying in about 5 this afternoon. How about dinner? My treat, meet you at your new place?" She hangs up, and the cab heads off in the London traffic. The houses in Park Street slumber gracefully as Catherine walks up the steps to a wide front door painted dark blue. She surveys the panel of doorbells, with name cards neatly printed underneath, and chooses one at random. 2 rings and someone answers. "Mr. Clark, Westminster Council here. We want to talk to you about the roadworks that are due in the next week. The road is going to be one way for a fortnight. I wanted to explain it to you."
"Oh, really?" says the voice. "You better come up. 4th floor, bloody roadworks."
The door latch buzzes. Catherine pushes it open. She makes her way up to the 1st floor and finds flat 5. She picks the lock and enters without a sound. She pulls out a pair of plastic gloves from her bag and slides them on. She goes through all of the rooms, searching each one for anything out of place. Catherine works her way from the bedroom, through the bathroom to the kitchen, but finds nothing. There has to be something here. When she ran a voice trace of Richard's voicemail messages over the last 2 weeks, he has been showing 45% of stress in his voice. As normal life gives a reading of 20%, he is obviously hiding something. Women have always been his weakness. She knows from the sweep of his personal life that MI6 research branch had done when she was getting approval for this personal relationship. He had been married for 4 years and had 2 affairs in that time before his wife chucked him out over the 3rd misdemeanor. The security review was comprehensive. GCHQ had run email, text, and message tracers across his whole life. Catherine knows more about Rich than he does himself. Just as she is starting to think that the visit is going to yield no evidence, she realizes that she hasn't checked the dustbins. She goes down the back stairs and through a rear door to a small yard beyond. The bin bags are in a cage to one side, waiting for collection later in the week. She opens the cage and starts rooting through the 5 bags that are stacked up. She opens each one and empties the contents onto the floor of the cage. There are enough packages with addresses on them for her to quickly realize which bags are from which flats. In bag number 4, there is kitchen rubbish, plastic bags, a pizza box, an envelope with Rich's name on, and a bag from a bin in the bathroom. She opens the bathroom bag and adds the contents to the pile of detritus in front of her. She sifts through a toothpaste tube, a razor, and at last her heart bounces. There in the bag is what she needs, but hoped she wouldn't find. She picks up the condom and wraps her plastic glove around it to retain the DNA. She makes her way back out to the street and pulls out her phone. She selects the number of a contact she has in the MI6 genetics lab at Marylebone. The scientists will be able to isolate any cells on that condom. Once Catherine knows who this woman is, she will go and confront her and find out exactly what has been going on. Geraldine dislikes hospitals. It has nothing to do with the smell of disinfectant. It is more that she doesn't like the rules that are enforced on her for no reason whenever she visits one. From the outside, she knows that the world sees her as a timid and organized woman. But inside, there is a rebel waiting to get out. Stuart is asleep when she arrives by his bedside. She sits and waits, taking the chance to look at his face for longer than she has ever done before. She wonders if he is as kind as he seems. She has had boyfriends over the years, but none ended up being kind to her. Some had been gentle, but kind and gentle aren't the same thing. Her presence, or something else entirely, prompts Stuart to open his eyes, and he sees her sitting there. They watch each other for a second, neither with an agenda. "Thank you for coming," he says. "Did you take the day off?" "Yes," she says. "I didn't tell anyone I was coming here. I wasn't sure if you—" They let the incomplete sentence say more than the complete one would have done. "What did they say about your infection?" "It's not unusual to get an infection after an operation." "You had an operation?" "They had to inspect the stab wound," he says. "Why were you there, Stuart?" "I was just shopping and stopped for a drink. Then all hell broke loose." "Do you know the man who stabbed you?" she says. "No, just a man in the street. But it was the shooting that I was running from." "I don't understand." "There was an old man who was shot. Then I was stabbed." "Because you were a witness?" "I don't know that either," he says. "Is it to do with work?" "Maybe." "Has anyone said anything? In the office?" "Nothing. They won't even talk about it," she says. "I tried to ask, but was told not to ask again." "I don't know then," he says with finality. "I'm not going to stop asking, Stuart." Her passion rises. "You could still be at risk. I don't want you to be hurt." The walk from the tube station to the MI6 offices has changed little in 20 years. The doorman at Vauxhall Cross nods in acknowledging Lawton's status as he breezes in through security. Lawton ascends the stairs, opens the door to his office, and goes to his desk, where a tray of tea and toast is already waiting for him. Martine has left a pile of papers on the right-hand side, neatly marked with different coloured stickers according to the priority and security of the content. When he thought he might have to retire, he realised how much he relies on Martine organising his life. In his stomach, he starts to feel slightly sick. He also knows that, to Russian eyes, he is useful, but not important. Just another one of the people who has changed sides in search of the truth. The door from Martine's office opens gently and she sweeps in. "Good morning, Martine. How are you?" She is taken aback. Her boss has never asked her how she is, in all the years they have been together. She knows everything about him. How he likes his tea, when he doesn't want to be interrupted, and the date of his wife's birthday, but he has never asked her about herself before. She likes the formality of their relationship and gets great comfort from her detached efficiency. "I am well, sir. Thank you, sir." "How was your journey into the office this morning?" he says. "Fine," she says, watching his face. "Where do you live, Martine?" "Ealing, sir. By the park." "I know it," he says, and they breathe in unison. "Anything else, sir?" Lawton is suddenly reminded of the thoughts that have been in his head for some days. He sees it as two forces that are trying to pull apart the life he has led for decades. Part of his mind says escape, to start again. But part of his mind says stay and live on in the comfort of normality and try to forget the guilt. "Do you enjoy your job, Martine?" he says. "Of course, sir." "Could you ever imagine a time when you did another job?" "Is that likely?" Her face screws up in an unusually frank show of emotion. No, of course not," he says quietly. "I was just thinking out loud." "I always want to do this job, sir, working with you." Lawton does a professional smile, and it makes her feel more comfortable. Maybe the sudden familiarity this morning is just a passing phase. After a few seconds, she turns and walks back to her office. The taxi drops off Gabby at the car showroom on the southern outskirts of Brussels. She looks around the lot until a salesman comes out. "Can I help, mademoiselle?" "I'm interested in this Z4, she says. "How much is it?" "That's a very powerful car, mademoiselle." She almost says something sarcastic, then repeats her question. "What is your budget, mademoiselle?" That's twice he's declined to answer. "Do you want to sell it?" she says, getting mildly frustrated. "Of course." He smiles, but without sincerity. "Price?" Her voice rises. 20,000 euros, he says. "I'll take it. I'll pay cash, and I want to drive it away now." "I'm afraid that's not," he starts to say. Gabby moves swiftly across the 2 meters between them, grabs him, twists him round, and pushes him down onto the bonnet of the car. "I'm taking it now," she says slowly. The man struggles, but she has him held in the self-defense movement 12C from the MI6 handbook, and he can't move. "Of course, madame," he says. She releases him, and he scurries off to the office at the back of the lot. She follows behind him and walks into the place. "Could I see your driving license, madame? Just give me the keys." "I need to do the paperwork," he says, holding his hands out. She takes a bundle of cash from her inside jacket pocket. "This is 20,000 euros, she says. "And here's another 5 for you personally. I'm going to give this to you, and you're going to give me the keys. Then you're going to fill in the paperwork with whatever name and details you want. Because I can make up some name and tell you, but I'll let you do that." The man stands in silence. "Keys?" says Gabby. He goes to the wall safe, taps in a code, and opens the door. He removes a set of keys and hands them to her. "If these aren't the right ones, I will be back." She walks out of the office and over to the car. The Z4 bursts into life. She breathes out and presses the button to open the automatic roof. As it starts to roll back and reveal the deep blue of the sky, she pulls out of the forecourt onto the main road and heads south.